Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all glory, honor, and praise to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Racha Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect out there. Lord willing, we be of that number. It's your brother Tobiah Yaquanah coming at you with a quick lesson, and Lord willing, it's edifying to an elect member. This lesson is just real quick on something I heard through the radio. It was referring to this gray wolf population rebounding, and when I was listening to it, I was just kind of getting irritated by how they were speaking on this issue because Esau likes to hide behind labels. The scriptures speak on how he's a fugitive and a vagabond. That's in Genesis. Let's grab that. Genesis, the 4th chapter. It says, and Genesis 4:8, and Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. Now, Esau Edom comes in the same spirit of Cain. Okay? So he's basically that incarnate, meaning back in the flesh, spirit on earth, in the fashion of the so-called white man, which we know that he's really red because his blood shows forth through his skin, man. So he's trying to pass himself off as white, meaning pure. Subconsciously you think of white meaning pure, clean, free of spot. When he's the most spotted, he's the basis of all men, as the scriptures say. Okay? And he's trying to push the vibration of the Israelites, or the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, especially the so-called Negroes, as black, meaning void of light, void of understanding, which we're really the righteous vessels, the righteous vessel chosen, man, the chosen people, okay, the Israelites. All right, it says Genesis 4:9, and the Lord, excuse me, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And that's the pride of Esau Edom, man. He's going to speak to the Lord like, I don't know where he is. Am I his keeper? Am I supposed to know? You're going to speak to the Heavenly Father like that? This is Genesis 4:10, and he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. Verse 11, and now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. So the Lord, the Lord sees all things. So he knew what happened. This is Genesis 4:12. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. That goes into how Esau, he has to create, he has to force himself upon the earth, which you can see that through everything he does, man. The manipulation of the weather, the manipulation of all natural things, man. And he's especially going into it with the whole genetic modification stuff, man. The GMO stuff, in order to produce a good yield out of the earth, man. Or he has to enslave, which he's done. He has to put the Israelites, especially Issachar, also, the so-called Negroes, to make the earth give up resources or fruit, you know, because he can't do it. And that was a curse. That was a curse put upon him by the Lord. It says, Salakia, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. That's the point, man. So this so-called white man, he runs around the earth trying to hide himself. And one of the biggest ways that he hides himself or hid himself is by hiding who the righteous vessel was or is, which is Israel, or the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. This is Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Yeah. See, the so-called white man covers the faces of the judges being the Israelites. He made everything white, made the angels white through his Renaissance era. Renaissance meaning to rebirth. He was down bad for a while. But then when the Lord gave him power to conquer the earth, basically, after the Dark Ages, so-called Dark Ages, when Jake ruled, you know, he came back and painted everything. He made God white. You can see that on the Sistine Chapel. Perverted everything, made them look all fruity and effeminate. Made the angels so-called white. Which all of these figures, all of these, the Most High is depicted as the Ancient of Days, sitting on his throne with white woolly hair. He's a so-called black man, or a so-called dark-skinned man. He's a dark-skinned, if you were to, according to the scriptures, if you were to paint a picture of him, he would look like a so-called dark-skinned man with a woolly afro. All right, and so would his son, which is his son's name is Yahweh Shai, meaning his salvation, he will deliver. So this so-called devil runs around trying to hide himself under labels. Not this so-called devil, but the devil that the Bible speaks of, so-called white man. He runs around trying to hide under these labels. And I just wanted to get just real quick into this article. It says critically endangered Mexican gray wolf population rebounding, but threats still remain. All right.
Republicans in Congress are leading an effort to remove some iconic animals from the endangered species list. At a hearing this month, lawmakers proposed ending protections for grizzly bears and gray wolves. And there's no doubt that some of these animals are making a comeback. For the first time in decades, researchers have counted more than 200 Mexican gray wolves, or lobos, living in the wild. It's a significant milestone for one of North America's most endangered mammals, which roam the mountainous border regions of Arizona and New Mexico. Brian Bird is with Defenders of Wildlife, one of the groups trying to save the lobo. And Brian, I'm sure you're celebrating this year's count because at one point, the wild population of Mexican gray wolves practically fell to zero. Why? What happened to this animal?
Well, like other predators in the West, it was persecuted largely for the livestock industry. And unfortunately, the government was doing the bidding of the livestock industry, and there were bounties set for the wolves, as there were for other predators.
And yeah, I just want to stop there, man, because this is the point I'm trying to make, through the spirit that this so-called white man, he tries to come across as if his leaders aren't him. You know, the livestock industry, the government. Well,